she's in a normal room and not the ICU, that's at least some good stuff. Does that mean it's a much, if she was serious, she'd be in ICU.
Yeah, that's it.
Hmm.
I'm hard to get information because you have to communicate very
Right.
You ready, Terry? Okay. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll stand for a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Madam Clerk, we have a roll call, please?
Jamie Girardi,
Here.
Don Anderson, Peter Hansel,
Here.
Jonathan Moody,
Here.
Christopher Poole,
Here.
and Richard Tonella representing Chris Williams.
Here.
Chairman Charles Gray.
Here. And proof of publication, please?
The items were published in the Tampa Bay Times on June 22nd, 2022, July 20th, 2022, August 3rd, 2022, and August 7th, 2022.
All right, and we have a minutes to approve.
Motion to approve the meeting minutes from the August 4th Planning Commission meeting. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion of the motion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, I'd like to welcome everybody today and give you some brief instructions on how the meeting goes. We're the Planning Commission. We're appointed by the Board of County Commissioners, and we meet twice monthly, and we serve as a local planning agency and hold public hearings, transmit to the Board of County Commissioners our recommendations on a comprehensive plan amendments, land development, code amendments, rezonings, and conditional use requests. The Planning Commission is the final decision-making body for special exceptions, certain appeals, variance requests, and certain alternative standard requests. However, final decisions may be appealed to the Board of County Commissioners. If anyone is in opposition to any land development code amendment, rezoning, conditional use, or any item where the Planning Commission transmits a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, it's important for you to attend the appropriate County Commission meeting. For those of you who are not familiar with the format of our meetings, they're in 3 sections. We have continuances, a consent agenda, and regular items. We'll go through the continuances, and then we'll go through consent one at a time. If anything is, we read anything on consent that you'd like to have discussed today, raise your hand. We can pull it from consent for discussion. It'll go on to the regular items, and those are the items that we have full conversation on. Applicants will have 3 minutes to make their presentation, and citizens that are here with questions will have 3 minutes to ask questions of the applicant, and then the applicant will have an opportunity to come back and answer those questions. I haven't had any written requests for additional time, so I'm assuming that we don't have any. Liam, do we?
We don't.
Okay. And do we have anybody here on WebEx?
I believe we have one person on WebEx for
Okay.
PC6.
All right, great, thank you. So before we start the meeting, first of all, if you have your cell phone with you, and you probably do, this is a good time to put it on the silent position. I assume nobody has any pagers. Before we start the regular meeting, we want to open the meeting, though, for public comment on anything that is not on today's agenda. Anybody here that wants to speak on something that's not on today's agenda? If so, this would be the time to come forward. If not, I would like anybody who may want to give testimony today to stand and raise your right hand and be sworn.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth so help you God? Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Terry?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Terry Pitos with the Planning Development Department. I'll go ahead and read the continuance items. PC2 is a zoning amendment in the name of Denton Avenue MPUD by Denton Avenue Project LLC. It's a rezoning request from AC Agricultural District to an MPUD to allow for 1,614 residential units, 265,716 square feet of light industrial flex space, and 10,000 square feet of daycare on approximately 331.6 acres. This is being continued to a date uncertain.
All right, we have a motion to continue.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion of the motion?
So just to be clear, Terry, it'll be re-advertised, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. And for those in the audience, this will be re-advertised. It'll be heard on this side of the county, correct, David?
I believe
Yes.
staff knows there's opposition to it, so yes, it would be on this side of the county.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, motion carries.
Item PC3 is a conditional use request in the name of RR Sharp Properties LLC, 813 Towing. It's a conditional use for towing services and storage of vehicles in a C2 General Commercial District in south central Pasco County on the east side of Land Lakes Boulevard, approximately 700 feet south of Cove Lake Place on .62 acre. This is being continued to the September 1st, 2022 Planning Commission meeting at 1:30 in Dade City.
Okay, and it'll be in Dade City. It'll be re-advertised.
I don't think it will be re-advertised, but
Okay.
we're making the notification here at this meeting.
Okay. So this is, I need a motion for continuance. Do I have one?
Motion to continue. Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, I'll signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
And then flipping back to the addendum, item PC9 is also a continuance. It is a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment in the name of CPAS 2215, High Ridge Center Lots 2 and 3. It's a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map, maps 2-15 and sheet 10, from IL Industrial Light to COM Commercial on approximately 3.47 acres of real property located east of Galen Wilson Boulevard and south of Ridge Road. This is being continued to the September 1st, 2022 Planning Commission meeting at 1:30 in Dade City.
Okay. So we have a motion to continue, do we?
So moved.
Do you have a
Second.
Second? Okay. Any
Chuck.
further discussion?
Yeah, I've got one question on this one, Chuck. So staff's report is to deny on this particular, yet we're continuing. I just asking for clarification as to why it's being continued.
I think my one understanding that I had was the applicant is not in the country at the moment.
Well, I also believe this is one that our office has not fully reviewed yet.
Okay.
So even if it's for denial, we need to make sure that the reasons for denial are legally sufficient, which
Okay.
we have not done, so.
All right, fair enough.
Okay. So we have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, motion carries.
And then the final continuance item is APC 10, Addendum PC 10. It's a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment, CPL 2206, Saddlebrook Resort. It's a large-scale comprehensive plan amendment creating sub-area policy flu 7166, creating future land use map 2-9 and sheet 66, amending future land use maps 2-15 and sheet 22 from Res 6, residential 6 dwelling units per gross acre, to PD plan development on approximately 549.39 acres of real property located south of State Road 54 and east of Service Road. This is being continued to the September 1st, 2022 Planning Commission meeting at Dade City at 1:30.
Okay. Hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the motion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
And now, shall we move into the consent items?
Yes.
Item PC4 is a special exception, Mathetes LLC, Spring Hill Outdoor Storage. It's a special exception for a freestanding recreational vehicle boat storage in an I-1 light industrial park district in northwest Pasco County. It's on the south side of County Line Road, approximately 1.5 miles west of Suncoast Parkway, containing approximately 19.4 acres. And this comes to the Planning Commission with recommendation of approval with conditions.
All right. Is the applicant here? Anyone here to object? Okay. Next.
For item PC5 and items PC6, we're going to request to pull off the consent agenda as there are
5 and 6?
members of the public here to make comment on them.
Okay, and is the applicant present on both of those? Okay. All right.
So I'll skip those and go to PC7. PC7 is a comprehensive plan amendment, CPL 2214, Central Pasco Employment Village. It's a proposed comprehensive plan text amendment to the Central Pasco Employment Village Subarea Policy, Policy 7112. This comes with a recommendation of approval from the Planning and Development Department. I am requesting that the attachment of the sub-area policy be pulled and revised from this item and distributed to the Planning Commission to discuss briefly the changes to provision A3 of the sub-area policy.
Okay. Do we have copies? Who has them?
The clerk.
Oh, she has them already.
You can
Okay.
receive and file,
Yeah.
but we need, you're gonna distribute them? Oh, okay, okay. Okay.
She's not going to let us have them. Do we have a motion to receive and file?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
And so as the copies make their way across the dais, the main purpose of the sub-area policy adjustment here is to remove the cap on the employment-generating industrial entitlement within the Central Pasco Employment Village. And so we're looking specifically at provision A3 to accomplish this. It's on the first page of this, of the handout that's been given to you. And you'll notice that the minimum maximum language in provision A3 has been removed so that it reads the following levels of development within the Central Pasco Employment Village sub-area are approved as the authorized intensities and densities. And the sentence goes on. And then there's subsequent changes to the table. In the handout that you have, it's removing the language that was initially proposed for minimum required to read no maximum limit. However, subsequent conversation with the county attorney's office, we're going to further revise that to read, to delete any reference to 3.7 million square feet, and instead say a maximum of 3.0 FAR per the Employment Center of Future Land Use, no maximum square footage. And that will be for the corporate business park, targeted primary business, and light industrial uses.
Okay, so those are the only changes.
And then the only other adjustment would then be under support commercial office, where it says 950,000 square feet, we would add the notation maximum, and then in parentheses, see exception in provision A11, which is outlining how to enable additional commercial entitlement without taking up additional acreage, using the incentive for vertically integrated mixed-use buildings in residential areas.
That's it, Terry?
That'd be the extent of the revisions.
Okay. All
So,
right, then.
Mr. Chair, I realize this is on consent, but since Terry's making a couple changes at the dais, we probably should just open it up for public comment in case anybody wants to.
All right, is there
Comment
anybody
on
here
that.
that would like to comment on this, pro or con? Yes. You'd state your name and address, please, Joel?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Joel, Two and Associates. I represent some of the stakeholders at CPEB. I'm not here to object. I had received the version yesterday from Terry, which I was okay with. So I just need to be sure I understand the markup that he and Mr. Goldstein are doing now. You're not inserting any minimum on the employment center items, right? You're just dealing with the max, and you're using the FAR as the max, not a square footage. Is that my
Correct.
understanding? And you are inserting maximum under the support commercial office, just as we have the maximum under residential.
But with the exception, there's an exception for vertically integrated mixed use.
Right, in A11.
So that's, yes,
That remains.
yes.
Okay, then
The main reason I raised the concern with Terry is, I don't think, there's some case law suggesting you can't have an unlimited amount of something. So you need to at least have an FAR, which, that's why I suggested that you use which I don't think anybody in CPB is planning on exceeding the 3.0 FAR.
I don't know if anyone in the county is gonna get there. We'd like to, but that's a lot.
So, yes, while we'd like it to be unlimited, I don't think that would pass legal muster, so, but the FAR will. So I think that works.
Okay, and this will have no, obviously, we processed through this board and did the prior MPUD approval, so the existing MPUDs, there's no question about them being deemed compliant. I don't want to now be in a non-compliant situation with the SWOPE MPUD that we just spent a lot of time on getting approved.
I can't think of anything this would be, in these changes, that would make the SWOPE MPUD non-compliant, because these are
Correct,
just,
that's my understanding.
these aren't reducing any
Correct.
square footages, they're only increasing square footages, so I don't know how that could make anybody in compliant.
Well, that was my conclusion too, but in an abundance of caution, I thought it'd be good if we said that on the
It's
record.
increasing the corporate business park, target primary business industrial cap, and increasing the retail cap with, if you meet certain criteria, but it's not reducing the residential.
And we're not changing the phasing schedule at the end, correct?
Correct.
The residential phasing versus which was the question.
I don't think you are, right, Terry?
Correct. No change there, right, Terry?
Yeah, I don't think so. Let me just.
Well, he did put no, I mean, it's
So the
consistent with the
only
other
change
changes.
is under the EC site infrastructure to support building square feet. Instead of listing out 4.65 million square feet, it just says no maximum.
Right. And the only suggestion there to be consistent with David's concern is, David, maybe in that last chart, you also put FAR 3.0 maximum,
That would make sense.
yeah, to avoid that issue.
You got that, Terry?
Yeah, the same way you did the first one, so you don't run into his legal concern about the caps. Because we all know there's no objection to the industrial. Obviously, the board wants as much of that as we can provide. Okay, thank you. Just want to make sure we get it right since we're doing it on the fly. No
Joel-
unintended consequences.
Were you noticed that this was happening?
Terry let me know a few days ago, and I saw the early version. I was not otherwise aware because, see, this was staff initiated, which was a little concerning, but fortunately Terry caught that and did let those of us know who are doing these MPUDs out there. And,
Well, I know that not everybody was notified, and so I have some concern over that. I actually am in favor of what's being proposed here, but I'm concerned that not all of the affected property owners were notified that this was happening.
And see, that's one problem is there are 20 some odd stakeholders out there, and I only represent presently 2 of those. So I know that Ms. Bidell, who represents Mr. Southworth, they were noticed, but I'm not aware of anyone else.
I can tell you that it's pretty well known by word of mouth among those property owners that the county was planning to increase the cap on the light industrial office employment.
Yeah, we've been working with a number of property owners for a number of months in CPEV, so they knew that we were studying the issue and preparing to make the changes that have been brought forward today. The reason why I contacted Mr. Tu and Ms. Bidell is because those 2 projects, the Swope MPUD and the Eagle 2 MPUD, were sort of interrelated with one another in terms of some of the exchanges, land use exchanges that were taking place per the sub-area policy rules. And also, they were active MPUDs currently.
Okay, so this will remain on consent.
Can I ask a quick question,
Anybody else that has any comment?
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah.
Just a quick question. Terry, will you refresh my memory about floor area ratio?
Floor area ratio?
FAR, is that what that is, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
The floor area ratio basically measures the amount of square footage that you can build on your property based on the overall square footage of your site. So it's a ratio.
Okay.
So a 1.0, if you had 100 square feet, a 1.0 gives you 100 square feet for 100 square feet. And if you had 0.5, you can only do 0.5 of the 100 square feet, so 50 square feet.
Is it based on gross area or net area?
I believe that's probably defined in the land development code.
Okay.
So I don't want to misstate that, and I don't
No
have the
problem.
code in front of me.
Very good.
Any other questions?
But for purposes of the discussion today, I don't think we have any projects in the county that have exceeded a 3.0 FAR. If we did, it would be rare. Do you know of any, Jamie?
No, I don't, no.
And the
Pretty
3.0
hard to-
is a reference out of the EC, future land
Yeah.
use. That's what the EC establishes, so.
Okay. All right. That's going to remain on consent, even though we didn't discuss it, so I don't see any objections. Okay. What's next? Terry?
That'd be the end of the consent agenda.
Okay.
I'll make,
So,
I'll
yeah.
make a motion to approve the consent agenda with the discussed revisions to PC 7.
Second?
And to be clear, we're talking about PC 4 and PC 7, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
All right. So we have a motion in a couple of seconds?
Double second.
Okay, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Like sign for the opposed. Motion carries.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, just for some clarification, would you like to go back to PC 5, or would you like to go to the regular agenda?
Let's see, PC 5, yes, that was on consent, but what was the problem with that one?
It was pulled because there's opposition.
Oh, okay,
Same thing with PC 6.
okay. Let's see, because we're on to the regular items anyway, so yeah, let's go back to 5 and 6. 6 and 8. Regular.
Good afternoon, Liam Devine, Planning and Development, PC5, PDD 22-7636, in the name of Betty H. Fetty Trust. It is a zoning amendment from AC Agricultural District to PO1 Professional Office District. The subject site is located on the west side of Dale Mabry Highway, approximately 1,900 feet north of Hillsborough County line. This is a look at an aerial view of the property. Here is the surrounding future land use for the site. To the north, east, and south is ROR, and to the west is Res 6. The surrounding zoning to the north is AC, to the east is AC, C2, and MPUD. To the south is AC, and to the west is R1. The subject site is currently undeveloped on approximately 8.505 acres. The applicant proposes to develop the property with professional office in conformance with the PO1 Professional Office District standards for development. The surrounding area is characterized by commercial, professional office, and residential development. Access to the property is from Dale Mabry Highway, an FDOT maintained arterial roadway with approximately 200 feet of right-of-way. The subject site has a future land use classification of ROR, retail, office, and residential under the comprehensive plan, and this is coming with a recommendation for approval from Planning and Development Department.
All right, is the applicant present? Thank you, Liam.
Thank you.
I had to teach him how to say Dale Mabry.
Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard, Newport Richey. I'm for the applicant, and the applicant is Tampa Civil. Tampa Civil wants to build an office here in Pasco County, so they are rezoning this property. So we're going to keep them in the county, which is really exciting. So it's an ROR land use. It's on Dale Mabry. It's very straightforward. I do think there's somebody that has maybe a question or a comment. And Jeremy Couch, the owner of Tampa Civil, is here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. So is there someone here with questions about it or objections you'd like to have discussed? Would you come forward, please, and state your name and address, what your concerns are? I wouldn't bring the dog. He's asleep.
He was.
He was asleep.
Bear with me a second, I gotta
Take your time.
catch my breath.
Take your time.
Good afternoon, my name is John Calamari. I have resided at 20719 Preston Lane since 1998. To start, actually, I am representing several people in the Preston Lane community, so I request a couple extra minutes.
Well, our time limits are our time limits.
Okay.
Unless I get it.
Well,
And we also, we can't accept the fact that you're representing other people unless you have something to show for that. So, but speak for yourself.
Okay.
We'll be glad to consider, and I was going to ask you, would you feel more comfortable sitting down there? And
no, I'm fine.
There's another
But I
microphone
can show
over
you
there.
texts that I received this morning from my neighbors saying, good luck today.
Okay.
Thank you for representing us.
We'll bear that in mind.
Okay.
Thank you.
And also,
Well-
just so you know, for future, sir, they could have registered to appear on WebEx.
I'm sorry, sir.
We have a system where they
my-
can, yeah.
My
so-
left hearing aid battery just died as I walked into the building.
So just so you know, for the future, your neighbors didn't have to physically be here. They
Right.
could have registered and appeared on WebEx virtually.
Well, they all work, sir. Most of them have been hit very hard by COVID shutdowns and lockdowns. So for them to
That's one of
take off-
that's one of the reasons we did it, is if anybody who's got health issues, they can attend
Sure.
virtually.
Okay, I understand. I'll pass that along. Sir, the main item that I wanted to start out discussing was that there are multiple factual errors in the notification letter and the supporting document, the page 2. There's also a similar error on the application. The notification letter and the information on the second page, as well as on the application, state that the project is on the east side of Dale Mabry. It is actually on the west side of Dale Mabry. More importantly, both of those documents state that Preston Lane intersects Dale Mabry Highway. It does not. The eastern terminus of Preston Lane abuts a piece of property to the south of the project area. So it clearly does not go through to Dale Mabry Highway. None of the other supporting documents, such as the exhibits in the staff report, hint that Dale Mabry Highway and Preston Lane intersect. Now, this is an item that is of vital interest to our community. Preston Lane is a private drive. It's not maintained by the county. It's only 15 feet wide. I just had a discussion with the applicant. I'm a professional engineer. I've made my living on construction and development for over 40 years, closer to 50. So we're not trying to be obnoxious and stop him. But the use of Preston Lane for construction vehicles and potentially, as the applicant explained to me, traffic of his employees, it's untenable. 2 vehicles cannot pass on Preston Lane. Somebody has to yield and either back down or back into somebody's driveway or, unfortunately, across somebody's lawn. So that's our major concern. I was prepared to point out some of our concerns, but Mr. Liam Devine met with me for a lengthy period of time last week, and he assured me that those concerns will be addressed later or by code regulations. So I'll leave it up to you as to whether the notification has to be redone and these proceedings postponed or whatever.
I'm looking at the map that's on the screen, and I'm looking at the eastern end of Preston Lane, but it doesn't look like it touches the applicant's property, so how would he access the project from Preston?
I just spoke to the applicant, and he mentioned that he has an easement on from the property to the south to jog up to his site. So it would be requested if that could be reflected on the aerial views and the supporting documents, just so we know exactly what's going on.
Okay, and did I hear you correctly? You said Preston Lane was 15 feet?
It's 15 feet wide.
It looks wider here.
That's, yeah.
You can go to Google Earth, it's very narrow. Street view.
The
Okay.
street itself is 15 feet. I
Street
think
is-
you're meaning the street itself is 15 feet, correct?
Yes, it's clearly a one-lane drive.
So, sir, I'm going to ask a question. Mr.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I guess following up on Mr. Moody's question, I'm looking at the staff report for this. It only talks about access being to Dale Mabry. There's nothing I don't see anything about Preston Lane at all in the staff report, and Liam, tell me if I'm wrong. Did staff even recognize that as an access point?
I don't know. I believe we have Nima online who reviewed this for access management, so he would be able to comment on that.
All right, can we?
Liam, this is Hassan Khalil. I believe I reviewed this submission while Nima was out of office. The applications I looked at did not show any access to Preston. It showed that access will be from Dale Mabry Highway only, which is a standard roadway.
Did you hear that okay?
I'm sorry,
So there's no.
I have one working ear at the moment.
There's no access from Preston Lane. It's only from Dale
So,
Mabry.
yeah, just so you know, sir, when the applicant files an application with the county, they have to identify what roads they're accessing,
Right.
because our staff does what's called a substandard road review to see if they're accessing any substandard roads. The way I'm reading the memo, and based on what Mr. Khalil just said, they never indicated they were going to access Preston Lane.
Right. Well, sir, I just spoke to the applicant a little while ago, and this is the first time I heard about an easement on what I would call the Hope property to the south of the Fetty property, where he can do a jog and use construction vehicles to go in and out. Now, I'm sympathetic to the applicant as far as initially, how does he get his land clearing equipment in and all of that kind of stuff. But to use it initially at the end of Preston Lane, it's just going to ruin the road. And again, there's no two-way traffic possible on Preston Lane.
But we have a section of the land development code, and is Essen still here?
Essen, is you still there?
Yes, sir,
Or
I'm
maybe
still
David
here.
can help me. But we have a section of land development code addressing substandard roadways. And if you have only 15 feet of pavement width on Preston, that would be deemed a substandard roadway. And there's language in the code that requires an applicant to improve and bear all the costs of improving that substandard roadway if he's asking for a change of entitlement, which he's doing here today. So I'm not thinking he'd probably do that. Otherwise, he'd end up buying your street to widen it before this is over.
Sure. Well, there's a number of considerations. The Postal Service has a row of mailboxes on both the north side and south side of Preston. When they reach the eastern terminus, they have to do a turnaround. If the turnaround is clogged up with construction vehicles, we don't get our mail. And in the past, the postmaster of Lutz mentioned that if we don't provide enough space for the turnaround, she'll have us move our mailboxes down to Lake Como Drive.
I'm just not understanding why he would attempt to use Preston Lane for construction access, because he would, whether it be permanent access or construction access, and maybe we can hear from the applicant after we're done.
I think that would be
But
best.
I'm not understanding why he would do that, because he'd trigger a section of the code that would force him to improve that at great expense, so.
Right. Sir, if I could just
Mr.
go on
Mookie,
record.
this is Essen
As I
Khalil
said,
again.
I've made my living for over 50 years based on construction and development and expansion of facilities. My pulse of the neighborhood is that we are not anti-development. We're just really concerned about our property values, for one thing. We have a fragile little ecosystem there. We have deer and hawks and owls and that sort of thing. And they can't speak for themselves. But our consensus is that we want something that's ecologically friendly and tasteful so that everybody wins.
Okay, well, thank you for coming. We'll take your thoughts into consideration. and
Thank
we'll-
you for your
To be
time.
clear, sir, the county doesn't really regulate tasteful.
I'm
but
sorry,
the-
sir?
The county doesn't really regulate tasteful, but we will address your concern about Preston Lane.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, and we'll get some responses from the applicant. Do you want to sit up closer where you can hear? Sir? You want to sit up closer where you can hear?
I'm sorry, again, my battery died.
I said, if you're having trouble hearing, you can stand up here and listen wherever you can hear best.
No, I'll see how it goes.
Okay,
It's just ironically, the battery died as I was walking into the building.
yeah, it's probably Chinese.
Barbara Wilhite for the applicant. Sir, I appreciate you pointing out those errors in my notice, how embarrassing. It did have a parcel ID number on it. We will go ahead for the BOCC meeting, get new letters out. He has made aware that his neighbors know of it and that he knew of it, and he's here, so we'd like to proceed today.
So Barbara, just to be clear on that point, you're assuming any risk of defective notice, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
If it is, yes. But
I'm
I
not
don't
saying
think
it is,
but
I'm just
yeah.
saying if,
Right, understood.
okay.
And Mr. Couch here can talk about Preston Lane and his intentions.
Okay, Mr. Couch.
Good afternoon, members of the Planning Commission. Jeremy Couch, 17937 Hunting Bow Circle, Lutz 33558. It's my full intention to access this property from Dale Mabry. You don't make an investment like this and not have a Dale Mabry address. That's what we want. The property does have a legal easement to Preston Lane, and I think this is where things got misconstrued. Our surveyors are using the legal right to come down Preston Lane and survey the property. The man that came and cleared the brush because 60 years of brush has grown, came down Preston Lane through our legal easement, accessed the property to clear the brush so that we could do soil borings. That's about the extent of it. It's a legal easement, and we fully intend to shut that off, fence it off, and access only from Dale Mabry when we build the office. And that's it.
So that would include your construction traffic as well?
So Mr. Goldstein, there is a small wetland between Dale Mabry and the upland portion of the parcel that we have to push through to get into the uplands. So that initial push will come from the backside. However, dropping a tractor off from Preston Lane to push through is not against Substandard Road, to my knowledge.
I'll defer to Essen on that question, because I don't know when we trigger substandard road requirements and when we don't.
If
So
we
what
got to
you're gonna
drop
do-
them on the side of Dale Mabry and push through, then we will.
Because I know that the original intent of the substandard road, when that section of the code was created, was actually to address construction traffic.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna, I mean, I believe it's triggered if you're, I mean,
So probably a trip threshold.
yeah, I'll let Essen address it, but I mean, there's gonna be a limit to which we're gonna allow use of a substandard road before you're
I don't
gonna-
want to encroach on these folks' neighborhood at all. I want to be a good neighbor. I'm going to shift my building as far away from them. I've met with a few of the neighbors. They're thrilled that I'm coming there versus Taco Bell or the gas station like what's across the street. We're going to be a very quiet, low-impact use to the neighborhood, and I think we're going to be, I mean, jobs in Pasco. It's compatible with the flu. It's what you want.
And you're changing the name to Pasco Civil? Is that what's happening?
I believe we own that domain. I believe I own that domain and a few others, so maybe.
It's an idea, yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
So,
Can I ask a quick question? What's the intent as far as a barrier between, I would assume it's going to be your, it's hard to tell here on this map, but it would be on, it's between your property and the homes that are bordering your property.
I think the code requires a type B buffer,
Yeah.
which is a solid screen, certain distance, trees on a certain amount of centers. We'll meet or exceed that.
Would you go to a C buffer? I think that's more in line with trying to keep a separation in there.
I don't have the code in front of me to look at that, sir. I mean, it's not my intent to build an office in the back there. I want to be as close to Dale Mabry as
I know,
possible.
I know, that, I just throw that out.
What's the difference in width between B and C?
Well, there's additional vegetation,
Okay.
trees, that
If
type
it's,
of thing.
if it's vegetation, it's no problem. I'm a small business.
I know you are, I know.
I can't afford to build a $400,000 masonry wall
No, I'm
between
not
my
asking-
small, quiet
I'm not even
office and a
asking for that.
neighborhood.
Not even anything along that line, I don't think that would be appropriate anyway.
Okay.
I think the fact that it's from looking at the map here and from a little knowledge I have of that area, that they would like, to a certain degree, that the vegetation, and that's all I'm
Yeah, I
suggesting.
mean, I promised them this, even though I have a legal easement that I could use for emergency access, for emergency vehicles, I'm gonna block it off and shut it off and do the turnaround on my property, which I feel like is a huge concession to these folks. So I promise to do that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jeremy, it's this 10,000 square feet, is that what you said for the building?
Yes, sir.
Approximately.
Hopefully.
Okay.
All right. And no other questions?
Jeremy or Barbara, just one quick question, and I don't know which one of you best to answer this, but is there a reason, and I can't even really tell based on the use I've heard, what the difference and how one would impact versus the other, but is there a reason you're asking for PO1 instead of PO2?
So, it's a great question. When I applied for PO1, it was really to show my commitment in the request that I really plan to build a professional office. If you look at the uses in PO2, They're a little bit more intense. You got to go through timing and phasing, I believe. So there's some retail options, and so I really wanted to, show the neighbors that, I really do intend on building a very low impact office on this property.
Great.
Okay.
Thanks, Jerry. Thank you. Okay.
Chairman Gray, this is Hassan Khalil. Can I just
Yeah, go ahead,
address
Hassan.
Mr. Moody?
Go ahead.
I would like to address Mr. Moody's and David Goldstein's question that was raised on how do we address substandard road issues. Number one, I want to point out is that the application that Mr. Jeremy submitted did not propose any kind of a connection, whether an interim or temporary or construction connection to Preston Lane. The only connection proposed was to Dale Mabry Highway. That is why I exempted it from any kind of substandard road analysis mitigation. If they are proposing to use Preston Lane in any capacity, then that application needs to be amended, and it needs to be pointed out that they will be using Preston Lane for either construction or however. But if they do, then the way we address these types of local roads that may be substandard is that they do a videotaping of the roadway condition. They maintain it during the period that they will be using it for their own construction. And then restoring the road in between their construction activity. And then at the end, they submit another videographic evidence, pictures, etc., to show us that the road has been restored or given back in the same condition that they received it. So that is how we generally address these types of any kind of interim activity that may occur on these kind of roadways.
Okay, Preston, thank you for the explanation. I think that's quite clear. I don't think he really intends to use that road anyway, so I think we're pretty good in that regard. So are there any other questions from the public or from the board here? If not,
Do we need any kind of condition for that, or just let it go?
I think what Eston's saying is that's just what the code requires.
Yeah,
That
okay.
If they want to use Preston Lane for construction traffic, they're gonna have to modify their application and/or their access permits to show that connection, at which point staff will impose conditions at that time.
Okay.
And they may mirror what Eston just stated.
Would those conditions, I don't know if Essen's still on the line, but would that kind of condition address, for instance, times that they could use that roadway? In other words, we're not dropping construction equipment off at 4 in the morning or picking it up at 9 at night.
It could.
Yes.
But it's nothing, what I'm getting at is that's something that the staff can impose. We don't necessarily need to do it here.
The problem is that you're dealing with a hypothetical statement. I mean, there's nothing in the application before you today that indicates, that's what Eston's saying, there's nothing that indicates they intend to access Preston. So you'd be conditioning an event that has not even been requested yet. So, but if the question is, would staff condition it if they ever make that request, the answer is yes.
Okay.
And could it deal with timing of the days, the hours of the day that they can use it? Yes, it could.
And at site plan, we have to go through substandard road review again, the application's required, so. And then he'll actually have a site plan to go with it, the conversation with staff, so whatever that conversation may be.
But I don't think you can really deal with it at the zoning stage because everything in this memo indicates their access is only off of Dale Mabry.
Agree.
There's nothing in it that indicates that they ever intend to access off of Preston.
okay.
I'll move that we approve PC5.
We have a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We have a second. Further discussion of the motion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay. Motion carries. And number 6.
Hello again, Liam Devine, Planning and Development. PC6, PDD 22-7637, in the name of Ivan O. and Maria Martinez, and estate of Mark and Janet R. Novak, NVR Pine Lake. It is a zoning amendment from AC Agricultural District to MF1 Multifamily Medium Density District. The subject site is located on the east side of Henley Road, approximately 1,350 feet south of State Road 54. Here is a look at the aerial view of the site. The surrounding future land use to the north is Res 6 and PD. To the east is Res 6 and Res 9. To the south is Res 6, and to the west is Res 3. The surrounding zoning to the north is AC and MPUD. The MPUD is Cross Park. To the east is AC and AR and R1MH, and to the south is AC, AR1, and RMH. And then to the west is AC, AR, R1, and an MPUD, Woodville, Palms, which comprise of single-family dwelling units. The subject site consists of a single-family dwelling and agricultural pursuits on approximately 34.704 acres. The applicant proposes to develop the property with 164 townhomes in conformance with the MF1 multifamily medium density district standards for development. The surrounding area is characterized by residential development consisting of single-family dwellings and mobile/manufactured homes. Access to the property is from Henley Road, a county-maintained local road with approximately 40 feet of right-of-way that varies. The subject site has a future land use classification of Res 6. The applicant has voluntarily will record a deed restriction that is included in your agenda packet. This is coming with a recommendation for approval from Planning and Development Department. I'm here if you have any questions.
Okay, any questions? Okay, thank you, Liam. Barbara?
Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard, Newport Richey. For the applicant, I have my team here. Can't beat that presentation, how thorough it is, so I won't go on about it. My team is here. I'm not sure exactly what the public comment will be, but we'll be ready to respond. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Barbara. All right, is somebody here from the public that has questions? Please come forward and state your name and address, please.
Mr. Chair, also, I think this is the one we had a WebEx.
That is correct.
Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, my name is Susan Archer. I live at 2125 Henley Road, and my house was the very first house built on this road back in the 1940s by my grandparents. And my husband and I bought it 24 years ago, and I live adjacent to my brothers and my dad, who are right next door to us. And it was no surprise to us when we saw this. The surprise was that we didn't expect there to be 164 townhomes. We were expecting single-family homes, which that would have been no surprise to us. That's something that we expected. But we're thinking with this many townhomes that we're going to have at least 300 more cars on this road, and the road has recently been paved. Before that, it was just a dirt road. When they built plantation, the preservation subdivision on either side of us. When we were reading in the agenda's findings and facts, it says that the developer will pay for their fair share of all needed road improvements. And we're concerned that we're going to have to pay for the roads to be improved, since there's going to be so many more cars on the road, and that we would have to share in that expense. It also refers to widening of the road. My house is 60 foot from the middle of the road, and if the road gets widened, then we are probably going to be expected to give 40 foot, which would leave 20 foot of front yard for us. And years ago, long before there was even a paved road, a car hit the corner of this house. My grandmother lived in that house, and we're just worried about the safety of us being so close to the road when it gets widened. So my husband and I have plans to retire. We're retired now. We have plans to live in this house for the rest of our life, and we're getting ready to deal with years worth of construction, and we're worried about having to pay for money that we're gonna have to help pay for the road, and living with all these extra people and more traffic. So what we would like to see is it not to be rezoned multifamily, but to be rezoned single family. And when the road is widened, we would prefer that the footage that needs to be taken from that side of the road and not our side of the road, so that I don't have a road in my front yard. And we don't think that we should have to pay for those improvements. We wouldn't need those improvements if it wasn't for this new subdivision going in across the street from us. We're perfectly fine with the road that we have now.
Okay.
That's it. Thank you.
All right, any questions of the citizen? Any questions? Okay, thank you very much for your
Thank you.
presentation. Yep.
Hello, how are y'all?
Good.
Emmett Thompson, 2147 Henley Road. I'm Susan's brother. So, yeah, we looked over a lot of this, and to be honest with you, if it was single-family homes, we wouldn't be here. That's a lot of homes. And on Henley Road, 164, we plugged some numbers. That works out about 300 vehicles on Henley Road. Now, I don't think there was, I know there was a traffic study done. I don't know if it's, I don't know where all those numbers came from.
We can, we can talk to that when, you know, once you're finished. We'll get somebody
Okay.
up here.
Yeah, I just don't know how another, let's figure 150 cars in the morning and in the evening. You know, just going to work. I don't know how that's going to work for this road. And I don't think anybody wants to, pardon me, give up their property to widen the road.
Do we have a map that we can put up? Okay, now where's Henley Road?
Yeah, can we get that close? Drag that in. Can we move that a little farther up? Yeah, sorry, the other way. Yeah, I'm trying to get, there we go. See where that nursery is right there? Yeah, now if we can zoom in. Oop, there we go. All right, so roughly where they're gonna build is there, plus just north of there. My house isn't even shown on here.
Isn't that it on the left side of the screen?
No, my house
2147?
isn't there. Zoom it back, there you go. So you can see Henley Road was actually put in there, or it was paved, a dusty road exemption, which really roughly means they just run over what's existing with asphalt. And that was paid for by, I believe it was the development north and south of us. Now, honestly, we weren't very happy about that, but it turned out not to be a bad deal. They've been decent neighbors, and it hasn't been crazy. But then again, there's not 164 houses there. Townhomes, 164 crammed on probably, I don't know, what is it, 34 acres of that, probably maybe 25 is usable, I don't know. All of that traffic has to come out on Henley. There's nowhere else for it to go. All of that traffic is either gonna have to go to 54 or down Leonard to 41, or if they choose, they can go through the new development that is to the, well, it would be the southwest of us.
Okay.
And if you can go, let's see, I'm trying to find Leonard Road. Can you go south? There you go. All of that is relatively new. Leonard Road to the south. They can go out that way and go through that development. It goes out to, I guess, Sun Lake. Is that correct? Sun Lake? Long Lake, something like that. Jurassi's old land. So I just don't know how you can manage being reasonable about this. That's going to be at least 300 cars, and assume that half of those people go to work in the morning. How you're going to be able to cram 150 cars within a short period of time, either going to work or coming from work. I don't know how that's possible. And then agreed with my sister there on the, I went through all this building for this new development here, and I believe was talked about dump trucks lined up at 4 o'clock in the morning. They blocked the road. They wouldn't even pick up our garbage. And this is exactly what's going to happen here.
Okay. Any
Do y'all
questions?
have any questions for me on this?
Any questions? I think we're all waiting to hear what the response is going to be.
I am too.
So, okay.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. All right, is anyone else? State your name and address, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Mike Archer. I live at 2125 Henley Road, and that was my wife that spoke earlier. And we have been there 30 years. It was a dirt road when we moved there, all country. Now it's all grown up, and we knew it would, and it's going to keep on expanding. I do want to emphasize, though, that I don't mind improvements and stuff. Everything's great as it is. Unfortunately, when they start encroaching onto our property, which took us most of our lives to pay for, but it is paid for, to have that taken away and or the property on the other side absorbing the cost of the road widening, because it's going to have to happen. I would certainly be in favor of it all going on the other side of the road. Them taking their property they're buying for the road would certainly make it a lot easier on everyone there.
Okay.
And I know I've got a few minutes left, but that's all I have.
Okay, that's all right. You're right to the point then.
Yep, thank you.
Any questions before he sits down? Nothing? Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, the applicant like to come back up?
Did we have a WebEx person? Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yes,
have
we do.
WebEx. Okay.
Stephen Mitchell, can you hear us?
Yes.
I believe you're unmuted and can speak.
Am I muted?
No, no, you're fine.
me?
Just speak up.
Okay. My name is Steve Mitchell. I live at 2031 Kirkland Street, which is off Leonard, around the corner. I moved here in 5, and I've seen a lot of changes in the area. I wanted to speak in opposition to this this rezoning, and for a couple of reasons. First, if you look at this map, I know they talk about multifamily being approved in the area. If you look at the map, there isn't, it's an established neighborhood, single-family homes, mobile homes. Some are on lots of several acres. It's not out in the middle of nowhere. It's in an established neighborhood. And to put that many townhomes right in the middle, to me, is not consistent with what's in the area. I realize that, eventually that property would be developed, but I too was surprised that they wanted to put that many houses in there. They just developed across the street on the west side of Henley, the Preservation Woods, and it's all single-family houses, and it's on approximately the same size piece of property with wetlands, and it's single-family. I'm surprised there's not somebody from there that's complaining about these townhomes right across the street from them. And down at the end of the street also, there at Henley and Leonard, you know, they put in Morsani's property, was just developed. It's rated zone R3. The Preservation Woods is R3. So I'm not opposed to it being developed, but I feel that single-family homes at R3 would be more appropriate. That piece of property on Preservation Woods is about the same size, and there's 57 houses on there, which is considerably less than 164 that they want to put on that piece of property. So that's my first point. My second point is the road, Henley Road. It was a dirt road forever, and they just recently paved it. They haven't even bothered to stripe it. It gets a lot of extra traffic. You know, Leonard Road used to be dirt road, and it was pretty much a private road, Leonard, at one time. But when they paved that, people use Henley and Leonard as a shortcut to get around the intersection there at 54 and 41, because sometimes traffic backs up 54 almost all the way to Henley. So there's quite a bit of traffic on that. So as it stands, I don't think Henley Road is appropriate. It's substandard. There's no sidewalks. I don't know who's going to pay for the road improvement. I believe it should be them. Are they going to put in sidewalks? Is it going to be widened? To me, it's a safety issue. I don't know how much time I have left, but my next...
Actually, you don't have any. But if you have one more comment, I'd be happy to listen.
Sorry. Stop the alarm there.
Did you lose him?
No, we have one moment.
Flows east to west across the road. I've seen flooding there when there's lots of rain. Leonard Road is flooded numerous times where there's a swamp right as you turn off of 41. And I'm afraid with all this, you know, development in here, we're going to have flooding on that road. I also worry about, I'm on Lake Linda, and I'm worried about degradation of the lake. Where's all this runoff going to go?
Okay, we'll see if we can address those questions, and your time is up. So I appreciate you being online. And does anybody up here have a question for the person online? Okay, I guess we're good. Is there anyone else that'd like to speak? Okay, if not, we'll have the applicant back up. See if they can answer some of their questions.
Sure, Barbara Wilhite for the applicant. We are proposing townhomes, which is single-family attached. We are not cramming anything in. This is a Res 6 land use designation. A lot of times you see townhomes requesting a Res 9 land use designation. So we're at the lower density for a single-family attached project. Our maximum is 164 units. The comp plan would allow around 190-ish. So we're below what the comp plan would allow. Certainly that's the vision for the property, the way it's comp planned. To the north, the board has approved apartments. So you're stepping down apartments, single-family attached, kind of classic planning. The neighborhood has different uses in it, including mobile home parks, which are probably higher density. So there are different uses in the surrounding area. It sounds like a lot of conversation about Henley Road, so we'll have to bring Ali up to talk about that specifically. We're not proposing to widen Henley Road. We don't necessitate the widening of Henley Road. We're not proposing to make any improvements to Henley Road, other than whatever site access improvements. I'm sure we'll have to do turn lanes. But again, I'll leave that to Ali to talk to you about. Jeremy Couch is our civil. I think he can just talk about his approach in flooding and those types of things, so we'll bring him up to talk about that. But I just the characterization that we're cramming something in is just not correct. I mean, townhomes are attached, and they're actually You don't have pools in the backyards, and you have common amenities. They're commonly maintained. Instead of having single-family homes where you pay for your HOA to run after your neighbor to maintain their house, for townhomes, you pay the HOA to maintain you and your neighbor's townhomes. So they're always nicely maintained and landscaped and kept. So let me bring up Ali to talk about Henley Road.
And Barbara, this is deed restricted to make sure that it's townhomes, not
That's correct.
apartments? Okay.
Yes, cannot be apartments.
Okay. Thank you, Barbara.
Good afternoon. My name is Ali Atifi, Links and Associates, Tampa Bay, Florida. So Henley Road, I believe, is recently paved, and I don't think county considered that as a substandard anymore. There was a mention about sidewalks. The substandard road criteria does not include sidewalks. So I don't know whether this project, when they go into the site plan approval process, they will be required to put sidewalks along their own property line, but I don't think there's a requirement to construct sidewalk all the way to 54 or beyond their site. Also on Henley and 54, there is a commitment to pay funds for a signal and some geometry improvements that the county and a developer are sharing the cost to pay. And when this project comes in for site plan approval, they can certainly contribute to that. But whatever they pay is going to be mobility fee creditable because it's not access improvement at 54 and Henley. I'm 100% sure when they come in with the site plan, at that time, the county will require to put a southbound left turn into their site. I have never seen any project that doesn't do a left turn off of for their site access because it's just for safety. Even if the left turn is not warranted, is required to put one in. So that's all I have to say. If you want to know about the trips, I mean, there was a mention about a lot of trips on Henley Road. We did a count recently, and there were right there at 54 and Henley, there were 34 cars turning into Henley from 54. And there were like 49 cars making a northbound left onto 54 and 28 cars making a right turn. So by traffic engineering standards, these are not very high numbers. And then when we added the project traffic that is produced or generated by this project, which is in the PM peak, is 58 cars going in to the subdivision or the development and 44 cars getting out. When you add it to everything on Henley Road, the V over C ratio, which is a demand over capacity, is only like 20%. So you still have 80% capacity not used. So that's based on actual counts.
The neighbors expressed concern that the road would need to be widened, and I hear you talking potentially about a left turn lane. Is there any possibility that the right-of-way for a widening or the left turn lane comes out of the neighbor's property and not this property?
Yeah, the answer is no.
Okay. I just wanted to assure them, I wanted to hear that from you so that you all understand that in no way are you, if we approve this and the Board of Commissioners approves this, no one's going to come looking for right-of-way from you because of the impacts caused by this development. And I don't think they're going to be looking for money from you to improve the road. That would be a cost borne by the developer.
All right, David.
I have a question.
Yeah, David.
It's for Ali, actually. Sorry, Barbara. So Ali, what was the percentage distribution of your traffic going north to 54 versus south to Leonard?
most of our traffic went north to 54 to Leonard. We only had of the, let's say, total trips coming out of the project, only 2 trips went south
Okay.
toward Leonard. That's just give you a magnitude.
Hey, I'm
of-
only asking because somebody was smart enough to require the developer or Sani to have a connection out to Sun Lake, so it seems like some trips would be going out to Sun Lake or to Dale Mabry on Leonard, but this doesn't sound like you assumed very much going there.
No, we didn't. We just wanted to have worst case. I mean, everybody go on 54. But yes, that's good. But based on the traffic we're seeing, people using Henley is not that many.
Okay, and then my other question is for, it's either Ali or Essen. I'm not sure if I understand finding 14 in the, and this may be why the public is confused about what we're doing to Henley. The finding 14 says that we're gonna do substandard road analysis at site plan, and then says if it's considered substandard, then you'll have to pay a fair share for acquiring right-of-way, building, designing, constructing what's needed to meet our standards. So I actually see why that might scare the public, that we may be doing something to Henley. Why was this decision of whether Henley Road is substandard or not, why was that deferred to site plan? Because I heard Ali say that it's probably not substandard. Normally we do this
Stacy.
analysis at zoning. That's why I'm not understanding why it was deferred to site plan.
I don't have any answer, but I can tell you that the county paved this, and people paid prop share to make it standard.
Well, that's why
So I
that's
don't
why I'm a
know,
little
maybe-
surprised. If you're saying
maybe
that if it was recently paved,
It's up to Asan if he wants to remove it.
well, that's what I'm trying to figure out. Why does 14 read the way that it reads? Because that may be what's scaring people, that we intend to do some widening of. Okay, so let Stacy, okay, Stacy,
Yes, good morning, I'm sorry, good evening, Stacy Burgess, Transportation Planning and Development Department. Yes, I actually came up with that condition, and I actually went out to the site, and so that was put down just to make sure that everything was in order. I just wanted to make sure that the applicant had an opportunity to, at the site plan level, to look at the roadway again if needed. But I actually drove out there myself, and the roadway was standard.
David, I find that staff, because this is Euclidean zoning, they'd like to put in a condition like this, citing what the code says.
but I've also seen staff say if a road's standard, I've seen them
True,
say
I've
it's
seen it,
standard.
I agree, I'm not disagreeing with you.
I mean, in fact,
I
90% of the
can
time, that
understand
is
the
what it says,
confusion.
is it says X road is a standard road. So I guess I'm just saying, I don't know that we should be putting language like this that's just gonna scare people to thinking that we're doing something to the road if we're not really gonna do something to the road. I actually see why they're scared that it's gonna be widened and
They'll have to
right-of-way
pay
acquisition and everything else,
something,
because that's
right.
how 14 reads.
Right.
So if staff believes the road is standard, we probably should just be saying it's standard.
Okay.
I mean,
Let us
Correct.
talk to staff before the board meeting, and we will.
We can get that cleaned up.
I also thought that you all do this analysis at zoning, not even on Euclideans.
We
I
do,
thought
we,
this- that
we
there-
submit an
that-
application and it's reviewed, and I mean, Stacy Burgess said, I remember all the email traffic, because I can't submit the rezoning until timing and phasing is signed off on, and substandard road, I'm not allowed to submit it. So all of that occurred, and Stacy was, actually went out and looked at the road personally as well.
Okay, well, between now and the board, I think somebody needs to relook at finding 14 if we're not. If we really think the road is standard, we should just say that so we're not scaring people.
Agreed. I would just say we do have to do a sidewalk along Henley for our portion. The project to the north, we'll have to do on their portion. I would also note that Henley, I think it might also be helpful for them to understand, not only this condition might have caused concern, but it's a collector road. So when the county goes to make any improvements to that road or repave it, I think it's done through their program maintenance. It's not assessed to the homeowners. I think that's helpful. If I'm saying that wrong, anybody, it's funny, but we had just have voices here. Any voices up there, if I'm saying that wrong, please correct it, but that's my
We
understanding.
don't hear anything, Barbara.
They're up there somewhere. And I would just add that Henley's also a vision road, so that's another reason why staff was finding this to be an appropriate density on a vision road, on a collector, and where 6 units per acre is what the board has set for the property in the comp plan. Jeremy, you want to jump in and say something interesting?
Jeremy Couch, Tampa Civil, 17937 Hunting Bow Circle, Lutz 33558. The project is going to follow county criteria, SwiftMud criteria, and any DEP criteria for stormwater and treatment. Typically, these type of projects provide an improvement to the area. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeremy. Any questions from up here? So, yeah, I guess the main thing I kept hearing was road, the access and the widening and so forth. So the situation, as I understand it, is if they widen the road, it's not going to come off their property. Is that correct, David?
Well, yeah, but that gets to the point of, I don't think we are going to widen this road. That's why I think I wanted the finding change to say if this is a standard road, well, I guess it's possible in the distant future it could be widened as a collector road. But if the question is for the turn lane, that's only going to come from the applicant's project.
Right.
If we ever widen the road to a 4-lane road in the distant future, that will come from potentially both sides. But I don't think there's any immediate plans. The developer is dedicating 40 feet of right-of-way on their project in case we ever widen it to 4 lanes in the future. But I don't think we have any immediate plans to widen it to 4 lanes. If we ever did, it would have to go through probably the eminent domain process to acquire all that right-of-way.
Okay, so it's not something we can stipulate now.
That's gonna require right-of-way acquisition from multiple property owners.
Yeah, it's not going to be a straight line.
This project is doing what they've been told to do, which is they're giving us 40 feet of right-of-way in case we ever have that. There's not much else they can do.
Mm-hmm.
They're giving us what our corridor preservation tables require. If we need right-of-way from somebody else, that'll be decided in the future whenever we 4-lane this road. But what I'm hearing is that we do not have any immediate plans to 4-lane this road or widen it to deal with substandard road issues, because what I'm hearing Stacy say is it's basically standard.
Yeah.
And also, this is Stacy Burgess again. Also on our corridor preservation table, it has a right-of-way of 80 feet, but the lanes are for 2. So there's nothing on the tables that states
Oh, so we're not even
It's
going to
stating
4-lane
2
it.
lanes.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah, it's stating 2 lanes, yes.
But we might add sidewalks or something else in the future, which might require additional right-of-way. But what I'm hearing is there's no immediate plans to do any of that.
Okay. So that should give you all some comfort level that they have no plans to do that. And they're already providing 40 additional feet of right-of-way. Beyond their property, there's not much we can do because that's not really a topic of this conversation. There's other property owners on down that road. So, anyway, are there any other questions or comments?
This is Stacy Burgess again. There's one thing that I wanted to make sure that was read into the record, and for the applicant at time of site plan to evaluate Henley Road and State Road 54, as was mentioned earlier, that it will probably warrant a traffic signal and that a fair share would be expected. But staff just wanted to make sure that that went into the record. And we also had in the finding of facts that when they go to evaluate it, that the distribution will also look at a different distribution than what they showed initially. So we also wanted to look at that as well.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. So, is there a need to stipulate this standard road?
It sounds like staff can address all these issues that they just mentioned, including Henley being a standard road, before this gets to the board. I think they're gonna need to amend some of the findings of fact to address not just that issue, but also the issue that Stacy just mentioned. So I don't think there's anything the planning commission needs to do if you're willing to recommend approval.
Okay.
Because those are all findings of fact. They're not, you can't condition this project. So I think staff just letting you know that there's gonna be changes to the findings of fact.
Okay.
To deal with some of those transportation issues.
All right.
I mean, as far as compatibility, I think it is an issue. If you look at the Res 3, it's on the west side of the road. Res 6 is on the east side. I don't know why the county did that. Doesn't make a whole lot of, I don't know the rhyme or reason of it, but I can see it was, there's single family there, it's been developed, and now to go multifamily one, just to me, it doesn't seem compatible. The multifamily is actually going on, pretty much on 54, so it's way up there, which, that makes sense. So, that's all I wanted to say.
Okay.
I actually wanted to say kind of the opposite thing, and I'm going to ask a favor of staff in future agendas. When I read this agenda item and I looked at the maps provided in the staff report and the aerial photograph, they were zoomed in so close and I couldn't get the big picture, and I'm like, well, these townhomes are out in the middle of nowhere. And then when I finally zoomed out and saw all of the surrounding development, I said I had a different opinion. So maybe we could get kind of a big picture photo and zoning map and future land use map included in future agenda packets.
Okay, good suggestion. Anything from anyone up here then? Not, I'll hear a motion.
I'll move to approve item PDD 227637.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion on the motion. No further discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign.
Nay.
Okay. Note that there was one nay. Okay.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Doreen Roy, Planning and Development. Item P8, regular agenda. PDD 220429, Small Scale Comprehensive Plan Amendment. CPAS 2214, Chancey Road Townhomes. Doesn't seem to be moving. Okay. The following policies are consistent with the proposed comprehensive plan amendment. Policy Flu 1.1.2, concentration of urban densities. Policy Flu 1.4.3, transitional land uses. And Policy Flu 9.1.9, urban service area expansion area. Site location aerial at the intersection of Diane Drive and Chancey Road. Next slide. Existing future land use, Res 3. Residential 3 dwelling units per gross acre. Next slide. Existing zoning districts, agricultural residential district. Next slide. I think we missed a couple of slides. Okay. Let's move forward. After the zoning? Yeah, okay. All right. Staff recommends the local planning agency find the proposed amendment consistent with the comprehensive plan and to recommend approval to the Board of County Commissioners.
Is there a companion zoning amendment?
Yes, there is. There is a companion rezoning from AR to MPUD. RZ 7654 has been submitted.
Okay.
Okay.
Wait, before Doreen sits down. Doreen?
Doreen? Not so quick.
No, it's not a major comment, but in your staff write-up, you have analysis of various public facilities. One of them says police, fire, emergency management, and then it just says, received no comment from the sheriff's office. Just in the future, if you could address fire and emergency management too. I mean, if you receive no comment from fire, that's fine, but it just makes it look like the sheriff's office is speaking for the fire department and emergency management.
Okay,
And
separate them.
they're not. Fire has their own voice, and so does emergency management. So the sheriff does not speak for either one of them.
Right, just list them separately. Okay, noted.
If they had a comment, say it, or if they had no comment, say it, but
Right,
the way it's words, it makes it look like the sheriff gets to decide issues for fire and emergency management, which is not accurate.
Can I make a comment on that also? He brings up a good point there. If I am correct, I was under the understanding that the sheriff's department was not going to put a person on the board from his department, but that they were going to have some input on the development throughout the county. And I would assume that if that were the case, that there would at least be some type of comment, either yay or nay, or I have reviewed this, some type of written proof that this actually went through fire department and the county sheriff's department. And that's the end of my comment. So.
I can.
go ahead.
It's Terry Pitos, Planning and Development. The sheriff's office is included in the distribution of these items. And we did not receive any comments from the sheriff's office regarding this project.
Yeah, Terry, what I'm getting to is that I thought there was a designated person that was going to review these documents. And if there is, he at least should say something on these items. I mean.
Yeah,
Well, I think the issue is they can't force him to. I mean, I think what they're saying is they're giving him the opportunity to
yeah,
comment.
we're sending it to the sheriff's office.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that we were informed that there was going to be a designated person, and that person should be doing his job. I mean, when you have population growth, the sheriff's department is going to ask for additional funding to fund police, and I assume the fire department too. I believe the fire department has their own interagency where they can ask those types of things. In other words, they're going to want to build a firehouse in a certain location based on population growth. Well, the sheriff department, he wants to have X amount of police officers per 1,000 population. And I think it's only fair to residents and to people who have to sit on certain boards should have that input. And I think that the sheriff's department needs to be nudged if they're not doing that. That's just a comment I'm making, but I think it's a logical comment.
Yeah, I mean, we do, as I said, distribute to the sheriff's office. We do ask and do follow-ups and say, do you have any comments?
Okay.
And sometimes we don't receive responses even on that information, not just from the sheriff's office, but any agency that hasn't responded to us. So we do our part to follow up with them, but we really can't comment on the work that other agencies are doing. So, point well taken, but we can't. We have to continue with due process, and we've provided opportunity for other agencies to comment.
This is probably a stupid question, but just for clarification, did they not respond back, or did they respond back that they had no comment?
They responded back, no comment.
Okay, so they did review it, and they responded back that they had no comment?
No comment. It was from the sheriff's
Okay.
office, yes, it was email. Yeah.
Okay.
Turned out it wasn't a stupid question. huh?
Well, I think that just reads it reads a little differently, and I think it's kind of a play on the English language there, but I think it reads kind of differently in the memo.
Right.
That they didn't comment, but really they did comment that they had no comment, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it probably should say sheriff's office had no comment,
No comments,
Yeah.
right.
as opposed to
Agrees like
receiving
it
it.
doesn't, yeah.
Because it makes it look like we didn't receive anything.
Right, correct.
But more importantly, I think she's gonna have to reword it anyway, because it should have something from fire and emergency management too, which it has nothing.
Right.
Right.
So we don't even know whether they said anything.
We can make that change.
All right, thank you, Doreen.
Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard, Newport Richey. Well, we're making changes. Yeah, our project is 158 townhomes. It's not and 86 single-family dwellings. Our MPUD allows us to use it's not approved yet, but the MPUD that we applied for allows us to use a loom if we wanted to go from townhomes to single-family. If we went single-family, there would be 86 of them. But the project we're proposing is a townhome project, and so I just would have to ask staff to make that fix too while they're fixing the memo. I have my team available here if you have any questions. Thank you.
Are there any questions?
Yeah, Barbara, I've got one question. I noticed in the agenda memo, the larger the two parcels listed is 14.8 acres in the agenda memo. When I hit it on Pasco mapper, it looks like it's actually 22.
The one parcel,
The larger of the two. Is there intention to use that? Because the exhibits that we see, it looks like the entire parcel is going to be used. Are they kind of shaving off the bottom of the L, or is there not intention to use all of that?
see if my team knows.
Okay. Or is mapper wrong, possibly?
How could that be?
That's
We
true.
go up an exhibit. That, Dallas Evans, Landis Evans and Partners, civil engineer. We have the acreage shown as 30.54 on our plans. The upland is 26.38. Yeah, and Pasco mapper there is showing one of the two parcels that comprise this.
22, correct.
Yes, then we have the northwest as well.
But the agenda memo says that it's 14.8 acres. The larger of the two parcels is 14.8 versus what's indicated on the mapper. So I'm asking is the intention to use that entire parcel or to use only portion of it, or?
The full combined two parcels.
Okay. So the agenda amendment needs to be updated to indicate that it's 22 acres versus
Should be
14.8.
30.26.
When you add them both together.
When you add them both together, correct.
Barbara, was the companion zoning amendment filed simultaneously with the comp plan amendment?
No, staff likes them to lag a little bit. So they get started to review the comp plan, then we put the MPUD in.
Okay.
Make sure they don't have any concerns about the comp plan before we put the MPUD in.
Okay. Is there anybody else that would like to make comment? Any questions from up here?
Sure. Well, I have concern about the process and I understand your response, and in some ways, I give some validity to the response. We want to make sure the comp plan amendment is okay before we start evaluating a zoning. But my concern goes to noticing, in that the comp plan amendments are only noticed by legal notice in the newspaper, whereas the MPUD zoning is going to get individual notices sent to the surrounding neighbors. So we may be, I don't know what's going to happen when the zoning amendment comes before us, but we may get 100 neighbors that come up here and object, when maybe the time for them to have come out was before we changed the land use to Res 6, as is proposed here.
So I will tell you that staff is in the process of amending the code. And I think that code amendment will be coming to you fairly soon as Denise is healthy again. And that amendment to the code will require signed notification for comp plan amendments. Now, I guess in the interim, applicants could voluntarily put a sign out there. Barbara, you have thoughts about that?
No particular thoughts. I'm just following what the procedure is, so, and it sounds like it's going to change. But I certainly don't want to go backwards for following the procedure.
Well, I don't think I want to send you backwards
Okay,
today for
okay.
following the procedure, but it,
Well, I mean, you could put a sign for the board meeting. That's what I'm,
it bothers me in that another land use attorney told me that the staff told them under no circumstance should you send a notice to the neighbors. They wanted to voluntarily do that, and I find that unfair to the public.
I would be surprised if staff said that. But regardless, if the applicant wants to voluntarily put a sign out for the board meeting, they could do that.
Well, hopefully it's going to be addressed by an ordinance
Well, yeah, but I
change,
mean,
that's
but if
fine.
your concern is this particular one, I don't think the ordinance is going to be changed before this one goes to the board.
I'm not. I said it earlier, I don't want to send Barbara's case backwards.
Well, I wasn't
She has to
suggesting that
follow-
either. I'm saying it,
follow the rules.
if your concern is that they're not getting notice of the plan amendment before the board approves it, that could be done before the board meeting. I'm not saying before this meeting.
I understand.
I wasn't suggesting that they do, but it would have to be voluntary because currently our code doesn't require it.
All right.
But the concern you have has been raised on other applications as well, and that is why we're changing the code.
Good.
Okay, anything else? Okay. If not, then, can I hear a motion? Please. Drum roll.
Yes, Barbara, real quick, I do have a question, and you said that the entitlements are in or instead of an and, it's 158, I think you said 158 single-family or,
158 townhomes, single-family
townhomes or
attached.
single-family.
Or it's not in the comp plan, because the comp plan is just a comp plan, but our companion MPUD seeks maximum of 158 townhomes, single-family attached. And we're going to have a loom that would allow the flexibility to have single-family homes if there was some reason that the property went in that direction, but.
But if the property went that direction, you wouldn't need to do the land use amendment, correct? If the property went in single-family.
I would have to do the calculation, I'm not sure, yeah, I'm not sure.
All right, anything else? Do I hear a motion?
Well, as I said, I don't intend to send the project backward today, so I'll move to approve item P8, PDD 220429.
All right, do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion? Not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, like sign? Okay, motion carries. Is that it? That it?
So,
All right. We moved all around here. I was trying to keep track, make sure we didn't miss anything. Okay, so we have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, see you today.